Çok teşekkürler. Levon Işık Günay. Çok mersi. Evet, şimdi çeşitlilik deyince üzüm çeşitliliğine kafayı takmış birisini davet etmek istiyorum. Sevgili Udo, Gelveri'de yaptığı çalışmaları ben sürekli dinlememiz gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Udo Hirsch, please.
Thank you very much. It will be a picture show, but of course I have to give a few explanations together with my photographs. 1,435 Autochthones Anatolian grapes, grapevines. This was the information I got 6, 7, 8 years ago from the director of the research station in Tequila. I used this in order to put more attention to this huge variety of grapes which still exist in Turkey. 1,200 of them were published in 2012 already. And these many grape variations are the result of thousands of years of adaptation to different soils, landscapes, and climates in Anatolia. So let me see whether it works as I want to have it. A further factor is the multiple use of grapes by villagers and wine producers up to today. Grape molasses with different additions, pekmez and nuts, grape juice and vinegar, table grapes, wine, raisins, and rake, pickled vegetables or fruits. Anatolian farmers have always 5 to 8 different grape varieties in their vineyards. They take a very important part in the subsistence economy of Anatolian farmers. Almost all professional wine producers train their wines on trellis, and they use American rootstocks as a protection against the dangerous phylloxera pest. Most of the Anatolian farmers, however, train their wines in one of the traditional goblet forms, and their wines are growing on their own rootstock. This is the most common form of goblet training in Cappadocia. To protect the wines against the cold in winter and the heat in summer, most farmers cover the lower part of the trunk with tuff soil, as you can see here. Hajar, my partner, and Mevlüt are discussing the value of old Anatolian wines. These are well-adapted and protected wines near Nevşehir. Here are wines in an altitude of 1,400 meters on the slopes of Hasandar volcano. From Greek and Roman literature, we know that some of the best wines came from Incesu near Kayseri. This is here. Since more than 2,000 years, nothing has changed in these private vineyards. The owners are still growing their grapes according to old traditions. They are on their own rootstock and phylloxera-free still. This is another type of goblet training from the Niederbohr region and from a few places in eastern Anatolia. This method is called karik. Vines are planted on the northern and northwestern side of this type of hill beds, and the southern side gets too much wind and sun. Only a few gardens of this goblet training type still exist. Other vineyards have been given up. Like here, you can see here. In the Konya plain, some of the wines are growing in a pond. During early spring, this pond is filled with 30 to 50 centimeter high water. During the following 2 to 3 weeks, the pond dries out and the vines get leaves and flowers. The lighter part of the soil up to there, the pond is covered with water. The darker one is outside of it. This is my partner Hajar with the pond owners. Long discussion about the use and why they do it like that, without an absolutely clear answer, I should say. Nearby a vineyard left some 10 years ago. It looks like that. Interesting that semi-nomadic Yurok families in a couple of villages have no large fields, but they have often vines in open pergolas. We found here 2 unknown grapes for our Saving Rare Grape program and planted them in our region near the Hasander. Grapes are grown in central Cappadocia on every little place between the tuff rocks. Now, a bit of history. This 300-liter ceremonial vineyard from the Hittite settlement of Kültepe dates 1700 BC. This big clay jars are in Hattusha, the main city, from about 1400 BC. Here I am in the former temple depot of Achemihuk, holding a piece of the rim of a very big wine jar, about 1300 BC. The Neo-Hittite rock relief in Ivris, the storm god on the left side holds barley and grapes as symbols of fertility, about 800 BC. Via Navanda is an early Hittite Luwian word for wineland used in about 1400 BC. It later was turned into the Greek word oinoanda. Now let's go to my Via Navanda. These small vineyards on the slope of the Hasandal volcano each belongs to another family of the nearby village. The altitude is between 1,400 and 1,500 meters. During the summer, it is quite hot. The temperature in winter goes down to -20. The annual precipitation is below 300 millimeters. The vineyards are surrounded by large walls of basalt stones. As usual, in each yard you find between 5 to 8 grape varieties. For planting new vines, our grape master, Adem, prefers long cuttings with a little 2-year-old piece at the end. Because of the very dry tuff soil, he prepares a 60-centimeter deep planting hole for this stickling. This is our plantation with 1 year and 2 years old vines. Every year we open the soil 20 to 30 centimeters around each vine trunk. These roots just under the surface of the soil are feeding places of phylloxera, a very dangerous pest. Since the roots will dry out during the next 4 to 6 weeks, phylloxera will here not have a chance to harm the plant. In addition, drying roots are forcing the vine to grow deeper towards the underground water. In April, the trunks of the vines are again covered with tuff. Old vines have a bigger distance between each other. In this case, the harvest is often more than 50 kilograms per plant. The alluvial fen of the Hasander are best places for growing vines. Wild barley between the vines is visible here, still a very interesting belt around the Hasander with original plants and compositions. Here you have enough water from the mountains and a high biodiversity. I consider this as a precondition for producing natural wine from healthy grapes. We believe that wines on their original rootstock keep their original taste. To decide for the right harvest time, I first taste my grapes in the vineyard. We collect the grapes by hand and clean them if needed on the spot. Not each grape is for wine. We are using some for pekmez or wine vinegar or selling them as table grapes on the market. 4 of our grapes are actually so rare that we can produce only 120 up to 200 bottles. Here. The grapes are squeezed in the mill. The stems are separated. Juice, skins, and pits go directly into the cups. Later, we add a selected part of the stems. Anatolian clay jars are called küp. This word has the same root as Kübel in German or cup in English. You can find used küps for wine, pekmez, or olive oil at many places. Here they are used as a decoration item at a petrol station. You also can buy them on a flea market. This old 2,000-liter küp I found in the village garden east of Kayseri. Since the alley to our winery is too small for a car, it took us 2 days to move this heavy küp to its place. I had to restore it from inside and to remove small asphalt which was used as plaster. I use a simple küp oven to heat the jar from inside. After we seal the küp with beeswax. The open fermentation in küp with the white mouse is quite easy. But in large küps with a narrow mouth, it's more difficult to push the mash regularly down. These are half-size küps, which are not completed, but finished at the hard side with a very open mouth, and they are quite easy to handle. We use those ones for the fermentation of the very rare küps, which need only a short time outside in our yard. We have some, I want to show you this one, to push down, you know, the mash all the time. If you forget a little bit and you chat too much with your friends, our küp starts to be like a volcano, as you can see here. And then we have some red wines fermenting outside in an open room. And depending on the outside temperatures, fermentation takes about 8 to 12 days. The white wines are inside our winery. Their fermentation time is between 14 to 20 days. After the fermentation has finished, we close the küps with a glass plate and a siphon. Our red wine with the temperature in winter from up to minus 20 grade is outside, but closed also with a siphon. 6 months later, during the Dionysos festival, this is the winter picture, we get snow up to the küp and sometimes on top of it. 6 months later, during our Dionysos festival, we will open our küps and taste what we have. And then we decide what we are going to do with this. Some wines are separated from skins, stems, and pits. Some others will be filled into other küps for aging in a nearby cave. Here, our aging cave. We newly have established it. Before, we were not able to age wine because lack of place. The best place, oh, this is our bottles. The best place for drinking our natural wine is in our vineyard, because here you can see what you drink. Original and natural. Thank you very much.